Hi everyone and welcome to The Tennis for our third episode of Season 7, our AO Draw Analysis Show. John Hoovenars with you here, Brie riding shotgun. Welcome, Brie.
Thank you.
And our American counterparts,
Let's go, Team USA.
Nick McCarvel.
Hi, John.
Welcome. And from the GIG team, Levi Huddleston. How are you, gentlemen?
Great.
Yeah, we're good.
We are going to have a lot of fun on the show today. We'll spend the first half of the show dissecting the women's and men's draws. Then we're going to catch up with Zheng Qinwen, the 2024 women's finalist, before we head across to Grand Slam Oval, a pre-record that we did yesterday with Andrea Petkovic and the tournament director Craig Tiley in preparation for the Australian Open main draw beginning on Sunday. So we've got 3 days where the players, Nick, have a lot of nerves to settle. Some, I guess, probably don't look at the draw at all.
Yeah.
But others are more inclined to.
Yeah, a lot of them are very superstitious in terms of, all I want to know is who I'm playing in the first round. And you can't, we're going to sit here today, obviously, for the listeners and talk about what we think could happen. But for the players, you have to remember they want to just know what's happening in that next match in front of them. That's all they're worried about. And especially, John, in the first round of a major, the first major of the year, those butterflies are fluttering in every stomach of the 256 main draw players.
Absolutely. And no doubt there were some very nervous watchers on today when the draw was unveiled. We're going to have a look at some notable first round matchups. Then we're going to check in with the quarterfinal predictions according to GIG's win predictor, Levi.
That's right.
And what else?
Win, not wind.
Yeah, that draws a lot of confusion.
What else are the numbers going to be able to reveal for us today on the podcast?
Well, I think I'll explain the win prediction a little bit, when we get there.
Yeah.
But I think what we're going to see is maybe some upsets where it doesn't quite match up with the seeding. So I think that's where the interest is going to be.
Well, let's start with the women, shall we?
Yeah.
And some notable first round matchups straight away when the first name was drawn. Aryna Sabalenka will be taking on Sloane Stephens, Nick, two Grand Slam champions in their own right.
Oh, it's just amazing. I mean, I don't think Sloane will think it's amazing that she's playing Aryna in the first round, but listen, she's a Grand Slam champion. She's a finalist at the French Open as well. She's done well here in the past, made the semifinals sort of as one of her breakouts, beat Serena here in 2013. And listen, you give Sloane every opportunity, like I was talking about at the top of the episode. The butterflies will be there. Aryna's the two-time and reigning champion. We're all talking about, wow, Aryna can't be beat in Australia. She can. And Sloane backs herself no matter who she plays. I think that's a banana peel for the top seed.
How has Sloane Stephens been going, though, right? Because she's been a bit quieter.
Sure.
Yeah.
I know she lost her first match of the year in Auckland, but I think that's where I go back to the experience and the fact that Sloane is former top 5. She is a Grand Slam champion, and she's got that experience. She's not going to be awed by Rod Laver Aryna. I'm going to assume that match is going to be there. She's not going to be overwhelmed by that situation.
Yeah.
Well, projecting forward, Aryna Sabalenka could find herself in a fourth round battle with Mira Andreeva as well. So that'll set the crowd alight too if that comes to fruition in the round of 16.
And we just saw that in Brisbane, didn't we? Sabalenka, Andreeva?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's almost advantage to Mira just to have that opportunity. She's now being coached by Conchita Martinez. I think that Mira's physically really matured in the last year, and she's just been such a breath of fresh air. She's 17 still, and that's another dangerous matchup for Aryna Sabalenka.
Yeah.
This first half is stacked with interesting storylines. Levi, Coco Gauff, she is in a particularly tricky or treacherous quarter, and you're going to talk us through her potential road to the final, if you will. So take us through it. Starts with a tricky one against former champion Sofia Kenin.
And you've got 15 seconds.
Well,
I'm joking.
right now it's looking quite easy for Coco. Going through Kenin, we have her favored, 87% versus Kenin, so it's quite strong. Where she's going to face, I think maybe her first challenge would be against Leylah Fernandez, where we have them meeting, and it's, she's still the favorite there, but we're going to give her a 66% chance to beat Fernandez.
So what round will that be?
Third round.
That's the third round, yeah. And she just keeps on getting tested. She's going to play Mukova, who had a really great United Cup, got some really great experience there. She's 64, and then Badosa, we have her playing against Coco in the quarterfinal, 63%. And I mean, it's just like, she's always favored all the way up until we have her play Sabalenka in the semifinal, but those margins just keep on getting slimmer and slimmer.
So it'll be a rematch of last year if it happens, Nick.
Amazing. What is the edge for Sabalenka against Coco? What do the numbers say?
So the edge goes in favor of Sabalenka. So Coco only has a 41% chance of winning.
It's interesting though, because you break down the numbers, right? 52 weeks, Sabalenka has been the stronger player, but Coco in the last
Recently,
few months, United Cup,
Even
obviously,
8 weeks, maybe, right?
WTA final, she beat Sabalenka in a really high quality 3-setter, and the numbers tell a certain story, but you've also got players like Naomi Osaka, like Jelena Ostapenko, Belinda Bencic, you mentioned Badosa, Marta Kostyuk, Jessica Pegula, all of those players, John, I think you said treacherous.
Yep.
It does feel like this is rather jagged terrain for Coco Gauff.
Yeah, I think Mukova is also looking at that with a bit of sort of trepidation, knowing what's ahead. She might have to face the winner of Osaka and Garcia in the second round.
Well, and that's so crazy. We talk about rematch for Sabalenka and Gauff, but last year when Naomi Osaka was coming back, Caroline Garcia was her first round match. It was one of the matches of the year, but Garcia couldn't back it up. Now, Brie, we've got Osaka coming in off of that Auckland runner-up, where she actually won the first set in the final and then had a little niggle. But I interviewed Naomi the other day. We played some air hockey for our social media. And the vibes are really relaxed, guys.
Yeah, you said that,
really
didn't you?
back
Quite
Naomi.
zen-like.
Yeah.
Well, our final match focus for the WTA in the first round is Belinda Bencic and Jelena Ostapenko, also in that little very clustered section of the draw, and they could also come up against Coco Gauff in the fourth round. Nick, can you see Bencic getting back anywhere near her career best? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Bencic had a baby just in the last year. She's taken her time away from the tour. It's just so cool to have another mom on tour, and she's been very pointed in saying that I want to make this comeback for me and for my family, and she's done it the right way. And we all know Ostapenko can show up in many different versions, so you have to back that Bencic is going to give her a good challenge in that first round.
I was looking at some of the numbers for Bencic, and usually you don't see like crazy differences between, but she's coming back on, and her average first serve speed, second serve speed, right at the same level that they were when she left. But what's really interesting, and I think maybe there's a little room for improvement there, is when she's taking the first serve back in 2023, 50% of the time she was inside the baseline. She was really taking that first serve really close. Now it's like down to 14%. So she's standing a little bit further back. Maybe that's tactical, but I think she was being a little bit more aggressive in 2023. So I think we'll have to see how that plays out. She's being a little bit more aggressive on the returns.
And what about Ostapenko? Anything interesting there for her? She intrigues me so much. I love her.
I don't have anything off the top of my head on the data side,
other
except
than the
for
lack of steps.
Won't comment on that, but we do have her rolling in as the favorite in that matchup.
Yeah, okay. I thought so.
Levi, before we move on to the quarterfinal predictions, I guess how it pans out from the last 8. Nick, I wanted to get your thoughts on Iga Swiatek's run. She's way down the other end in the bottom half of the draw. Katerina Siniakova first up, but other than Kasatkina, she's got a pretty good run up until Emma Navarro potentially in the quarterfinal.
Yeah, I mean, that's that anchor part of the draw, right? With Swiatek as the number 2 seed. We were wondering maybe if some of that injury from the United Cup, we saw it against Coco Gauff. Iga Swiatek now with Wim Fissette in her corner just in the last couple months. Siniakova is a tough first round. She is by far the best doubles player in the world. Siniakova, we haven't always seen that on the singles court. But this just hasn't been the conditions, the court surface. I don't know what it's been about Australia. It just has not been Swiatek's tournament. So you wonder, can she use maybe there was some salt there in the United Cup final between Team USA and Poland.
There was.
You wonder if Swiatek uses that as a little bit of fuel for her in Melbourne.
Yeah, I could see that.
Okay, so I believe she's going to figure here in your win prediction from the quarterfinals onwards.
Yeah, so, Iga is actually looking like the favorite all the way through. So that might be a surprise for a lot of people that would pick Sabalenka, but based on what we've seen, I think like I said, this data really takes in the whole year.
Absolutely.
But that that doesn't factor in the fact that, Sabalenka is a winner here and has shown that she's a winner here. So I think maybe there's a little room for margin on that. But what we have is we have Iga defeating Navarro in the quarterfinal, then taking on Rybakina and passing Rybakina to go on to the final to meet Sabalenka. So on the other side, we have Sabalenka meeting up with Zheng, Sabalenka moving through. We have Coco battling out with Badosa going through, and then Coco, Sabalenka. We have Sabalenka having the edge in that match ever so slightly, but Sabalenka going through.
What's the numbers on Iga beating Sabalenka in the final?
It's super close. It's 54-46. So, I mean, that's a statistical model. There's still margins of error within that.
Would love to see it, Nick.
Yeah, and we talked about it a few episodes ago, didn't we? That it's one of the ones we'd love to see.
Yeah, I was hearing that she was changing the way that she was hitting her forehand a bit for hard court surfaces as opposed to clay, where she was trying to drive it more. And they actually saw at the United Cup, they did an analysis piece where she started actually hitting it more like her clay court shot. So a little bit more margin for error, forcing the opponent to take it on the rise. And so you wonder maybe she'll go back to that and say, okay, I'm going to play like I'd like to play and not try to force this other angle. Hopefully maybe she could have some more success that way.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, too, having another 10 days, 2 weeks with Wim Fissette on her side. Like Levi's talking about those little things. And for people at home, sometimes you're like, wait, those are the tiniest details. But Coco Gauff makes the tiniest change on her grip, and it's really changed her confidence with Iga.
Yeah.
If Wim can really bring in some of that clay court approach in terms of the way that she's swinging off that forehand, and just to have someone like Wim on your side, it's been kind of a transitional phase for her the last couple months. I think that she certainly could have that deep run. I think I'm going to disagree with the computer in terms of Sabalenka.
Okay.
Certainly for me is the favorite should she face Iga Swiatek in the final.
Let's go around the table then. So Sabalenka for you, Nick. Levi, your women's prediction.
I'm gonna back it. I'm gonna say Iga.
All right, Iga for you. Brie?
I would love to see Iga win, but I think it'd be Sabalenka.
And Coco for me.
Yeah, actually, I'm gonna join you on Coco. Well, I was just saying,
I didn't know we could have Coco.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was an option.
It's okay.
No. This is your women's. Are we talking?
draw.
Our champion.
Winner. Coco.
Coco. Everyone's on Coco except for you. Sticking with Swiatek.
I have to represent the data here, and so I'm gonna have to back that model.
And your model.
What would I?
You're gonna back your model.
Who's gonna back it if I'm not gonna back it?
Not tell you what, if it comes off, right, you look like the Cheshire cat who got the.
You joke, but I'm gonna be looking back at this sheet of paper and I'm gonna say, did I do well here?
Well, we will wait and see how all of our predictions play out in around 2.5 weeks' time when we crown the women's champion for 2025. Well, 12 months ago, Zheng Qinwen was our runner-up here in Melbourne, but since then she has returned with a gold medal at the Paris Games and a quiet confidence she now has what it takes to win a major. Qinwen, welcome to the tennis.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Hey, how has the gold medal at the Paris Games changed you as a person?
Well, honestly, I would not say the gold medal changed me as a person, because for me, I am the same. Doesn't matter I win gold medal or no, but it is true, changed me the life outside of the tennis. I get more attention, more sponsors coming in, and more people gets to know me. And I realized this time when I come back to China, I inspire a lot of young kids. So that's the good part to win a gold medal.
Because you actually went home, didn't you, after the games before the US Open?
Yes, we have to do a ceremony with all the Olympic champion from China. So I have to go back. And I didn't stay that long. I only stayed maybe just 2 days. But I can see the difference. And right now, I feel like almost when I go out of the street, everybody knows me and everybody wants to come around to take a picture. That was totally different feeling than before, and I need to get used to it. Right now, I'm in the zone already. I know when I go out in China, I have to, make sure everything I behave right. That's a good thing because they make me feel I need to have the right behavior and to constantly improve myself.
What would you like to achieve in 2025?
I would like to break through on my record, which means to go even farther in the slams. I know it's difficult. It's the last step. Everybody said the last step is the most difficult ones. And to be more consistently during the year, once I play a tournament, I wish there's no up and down. I go to the match, I fight from the beginning until the end to show where my level is supposed to be. Because last year after Australia Open, I had some up and down in the result, and I know that's not supposed to be. It's because my mental are not enough stable. So I try to avoid this mistake after Olympic Games.
Yeah.
I'm trying super hard. That's why you can see even after Olympic Games, I have a consistent result.
I don't know if you're familiar with Nicole Pratt. She's the Australian Billie Jean King Cup coach. She made a prediction this time last year that you'd break into the top 10 in 24, which you've done.
Really?
She did.
She did.
She's pretty sharp mind.
Oh, okay.
Pratty, friend of the podcast. Her prediction this year is that you will win a Grand Slam title. Now, I don't want to put pressure on you, but do you think...
You start already.
Do you feel like your game has grown to a place where you can now go that extra step?
Well, actually, I feel my game is always there to go through the extra steps, but there's more I need to improve for be able to win that title. Because, slams is not just about tennis. There's so many factors around. You need to be good 2 weeks in a row in the mental side. You need to stay healthy in the body, which means, you can't always have third set all the time like this. When you arrive to the final, you will be dead. And sometimes you need to adjust well between daily session and night session. I remember the first year I arrived on tour, I don't know how to play in the night session, but after 3 years experience, I'm quite good with daily session, night session. So this has come with a lot of repetition of matches. Yeah.
And what about the giants of the game? I remember last year going into the final, your mentality was fast start. Have you added some more weapons to your artillery to combat the likes of Aryna Sabalenka?
Well, yes, definitely. I feel I'm constantly improve. I'm sure she's doing the same as well. So I think every time when I met her, it's going to be different matches because you never know what she's going to do today, and she will never know if I'm going to become better, because I feel more the time I play against her, more I know her game, and I feel more finally I can be myself, because the real time I saw her on TV was maybe when I was like 15, 16 years old. So the first time I played against her, that was US Open. I need to break, those, idol scream, idol line. And the second time I played against her in Australia, that was a final, very stressful. And I felt I couldn't perform my best. And the third time was much more easier for me. I feel finally I'm able to play my game. Doesn't matter who I'm facing to. And I would say the time I beat Swiatek in Olympic Games gives me a lot of strength.
Yeah, excellent. I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do. A lot of people are quick to draw the likeness between you and Li Na, but I'm wondering, are there other sources of inspiration for you, whether people or things? Like what is your greatest inspiration in life?
Well, the people who inspire me a lot is not only the people who achieve in sport. I mean, there's a lot of things outside of the sport they can inspire to me. Anything, the technology part. I mean, that sounds crazy because we are in Australia Open. Sorry to say that.
Oh, we're the technology kings here.
Yeah. And I remember during the Olympic Games, I'm looking the people who's won the gold medals before to find the energy. Even now, I'm looking the video of last year, the previous year, all the people who's winning the slams, just to get those energy. I have a little habit. It's like before each tournament, I would like to see the video of the winner in that tournament.
Yeah, it's good thinking.
Yeah.
I like it. A final question. Global fame has come very quickly for you at a young age. I know you were probably already a big deal in China, but what has your response been to the reception around the world from fans, especially here in Melbourne, where our Chinese population, I think, is the second biggest population in the city?
Feels great because feels like you got this extra energy on court, and you are not anymore just playing by your own. Because the first year when I arrived on tour, there's many matches. Not everyone is supporting on you, so you need to hold those pressures that you need to play almost against your opponent, and then the rest 70% of the fans. And right now, I feel like I'm the one who's leading more on court with the atmosphere. And at the beginning, feels weird. I mean, sometimes they put me a lot of pressure when I was 19 years old with the Chinese fans, but right now I just love it. I love how they support me. I love when I win 1 point, they are screaming my name. I feel they make me playing better on court, and even when I don't have any more energy, or when I'm stressful on court, sometimes they bring me back to the game. Happens a lot of times. Last year in Australia Open, and then when I was in China in Olympic Games.
Well, we love supporting you, Qinwen, and we look forward to all that you bring in 2025.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful to catch up with Zheng just a few days ago. She's a great personality to have, a different sort of personality on the tour, but doing wonderful things for Chinese tennis particularly.
Oh, and that Olympic gold medal was just huge. I mean,
phenomenal.
Yeah, and the way that she was able to do that, she really is a national hero now in China.
She really is. Oh, and everywhere. When I was at the US Open, it was like I would be sitting there thinking, who's that person walking through and why are all those people running after her? And it was Qinwen.
And she does carry capital C confidence wherever she goes.
Does she?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
And I think that's sometimes what we've missed a little bit from the top women in the last few years. We've seen it now from Coco and Sabalenka, and Qinwen certainly ticks that box.
I love that.
Well, it's time to talk about the men. Last year it was Jannik Sinner's night on the last Sunday at the Australian Open, raising the Norman Brooks Challenge Cup for the very first time. This year, he is back as our top seed, but we're going to talk about his first round match against Nicolas Jarry, Nick. That is no easy first up encounter for the Italian number one.
No, I'm putting on my Levi hat. I went into the numbers here. These guys are 1-1, John, head to head. That win for Jarry came 5 years ago, but they just played a few weeks ago in Beijing, and Jarry actually won the first set. So obviously, Sinner's going to be the one that is favored in this match. He's going to feel much more at home on Rod Laver Arena. But to have a win against Jannik Sinner, and Nicolas Jarry's got a huge serve, he's got a gargantuan game, and certainly if you've beaten someone in the past, you're going to have that belief going out on court.
What have you got for us on the number one seed?
You know, this is tough. This is tough because obviously Sinner's the favorite. And the way these models work is the higher you are, that probability just keeps on creeping up.
So Sinner is smashing Jarry.
We have it as smashing.
I love Jarry, but I don't see it as a fair, equal fight.
So it's at 97-3. But these models don't account for everything.
Yeah.
This one in particular, 1-1 head-to-head, that's pretty big. I don't think we can say the model is going to be as accurate as maybe some other matches here.
So you're saying your model's wrong?
Brie, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far.
Well,
I just don't know if it's that high. I think you'll still win, but it could be closer.
It's not taking some other things into consideration, right?
And I think one of those things to consider is that Jannik Sinner has not played a official competitive match yet in 2025. Those butterflies I mentioned at the top of the show, they're going to be even more present for the defending champ.
But has he actually had a rest in comparison to everyone else who hasn't? Is there something in that as well?
Yeah.
He'll have potential tests along the journey. Flavio Caboli potentially in the third round. Holger Rune in the fourth round. And then Alex de Minaur might be his quarterfinal opponent. So let's go there. De Minaur starts his campaign, Nick, against the Dutchman, Botic van der Zandschulp.
Van den Zandschulp is tough. We saw him beat Rafael Nadal in his last singles match ever just a few weeks ago at the Davis Cup. This one's tough for Demon. We know that everyone's going to be, especially here in Australia, paying attention to what Demon can do. He's all over Channel 9. There's going to be a lot of expectations for him.
Big time.
The thing I find confounding about Botic is that he really throws everything at you. You know, there's everything unexpected. There's spins, there's slices. He's serving and volleying. So that can throw Alex off if he's having an off night. But certainly we'd love to see Demon make another deep run here.
Demon's a great returner. He's actually listed as the best returner on the ATP Tour.
Wow.
I think that might favor him with the serving and trying to get that return back in play and then outlast Bodek. But I think you're right. Like, Bodek has slain some giants before, and so I think this will be a very interesting matchup. Right now we have Demon as the favorite.
Yeah.
But it's it's a slim, not slim. It's 79%, but there is some flexibility there.
Francisco Cerundolo, their potential third-round opponent, and then Stefanos Tsitsipas, Nick, in the fourth round. Geez, that'd be an electric crowd. Rod Laver
Oh my
Arena.
God, Tsitsipas and
Demon.
Demonor.
Can you imagine?
The Aussies love both. People will be divided. What will we do?
It'll be the hottest ticket in town on that
It would be, I
second
think.
weekend. Yeah. So plenty to look forward to there. Our third notable matchup in the first round is an interesting one. Two Frenchmen, Nick, one veteran and one absolute rising star, in Gael Monfils and Giovanni Mpetshi-Perricard.
I mean, we saw Mpetshi-Perricard and what he was able to do against Nick Kyrgios and make a good deep run in Brisbane. And then Gael Monfils just continues to tick at 38, wins a couple matches in Auckland. It's so cool to see Le Monf still playing some of his best tennis. But I think this is one that Taylor Fritz has to watch out for in the sense that this would be a potential third round. And Mpetshi-Perricard, I think every man out there on the ATP has said that his serve is unlike anything they've ever seen before. No Isner, no Karlovic, no Federer, that Mpetshi-Perricard is delivering bombs like they've never seen.
Yep, highest rated server in the game on the ATP side. Have you got anything on that matchup, Levi, for the numbers saying?
Yeah, I mean, right now we actually have Monfils favored 64%.
Really?
Wow.
It will be interesting to see what happens. I know a lot of people might disagree with those numbers, especially with the way that Mpetshi-Perricard has been playing. He hits 2 first serves. What are you going to do against that?
Right.
But that's what we account for. We account for, okay, how well are you doing throughout the year? So I'm gonna stick with that and say 64.
Yeah, interesting. I would not have thought that.
It comes to like a mental battle, I think, too. Monfils, especially, both of them being French. I think that Monfils will probably try to use the crowd in that matchup. And then Mpetshi-Perricard just has to play with tunnel vision, serve, and then look for those little opportunities when they come on the return.
Who was it I was listening to recently? It might have been Andy Roddick saying that at the moment, Mpetshi-Perricard is serve. He hasn't yet mastered his ground strokes. And then once he does, everyone's
Game over.
kind of in trouble.
Hasn't had to use it much, has he?
Yeah. True.
You can see that when, the match with Kyrgios,
Yeah.
3 tiebreakers, like they were holding serve. They weren't, doing a lot of back and forth breaking. So.
No.
Okay, so let's have a look at the predicted road to the final then for Carlos Alcaraz.
I have his road to the final here. So first round, Shevchenko versus Carlos. We have Carlos as the heavy favorite. I think Shevchenko played some excellent United Cup rounds and really made a name for himself there. He had a great spirit out there. So right now we have it 93% in favor of Carlos, but Shevchenko's played really well, so we'll have to see what happens. I think the next thing that gets interesting would be Jordan Thompson in the third round.
I think he gets interesting.
Seeded for the first time here at his home slam.
Yeah,
Jordan.
I'm really.
amazing.
It's so exciting. Yeah. Fingers crossed he's healing well after Brisbane.
So what are the numbers there in the third round?
So unfortunately for, I think, a lot of the fans here, for Brie, we have Carlos favored at 83%, but that's not bad
The
numbers.
machine has no idea.
I imagine Jack Draper in the fourth round would start to get really interesting.
Jack Draper, yeah. So those numbers just keep on decreasing. Carlos, has really high numbers. He's one of the best. So, I mean, it's still for Jack Draper. We're saying, it's 75% for Carlos to get through Jack Draper. But then as we go into the quarterfinals, he's facing Novak. I'm curious. What do you guys think?
I think 62% Alcaraz.
So Novak's got a pretty good run up until then, but if he wants to make it to the semi-final, he's going to have to get past Alcaraz. Nick, how would you see this one playing out? Djokovic has started to show some signs of degradation just this summer already, and has admitted that his best is probably behind him.
Yeah, I mean, so he needs the stars to align, and he's the 10-time champion here, so he certainly knows these conditions. And I think Carlos, one of the first things he said to our cameras here when he arrived at Melbourne Park is he hasn't gone deep. He's only made the quarterfinals once. So Novak has all of that experience, all of those matches under his belt here at Rod Laver Arena, and Carlos doesn't quite have that. The big X factor, I think, for Carlos is to have Juan Carlos Ferrero here with him last year. He didn't have him a year ago because Juan Carlos was dealing with a health issue.
Yep.
So he's back. I think that completes the team. And then, if you think back to Carlos and Novak, they've already had some incredible battles, but look at what Novak was able to do in the Olympic final to summon everything that he needed for that gold medal. You could say that the Australian Open is Novak's Olympic court within tennis itself, and he wants an 11th Australian Open. He has been, we always called Rafa the king of clay. Novak has been the king of Rod Laver Arena in the last 20 years, and so he's going to try to use, I think he'll try to use all of those factors. That's me saying that Carlos is the favorite, but those are the factors that can help Novak, I think, in that matchup.
Yeah, so we actually have Novak as the favorite for that match. Yes.
Interesting.
So, we only have Carlos at a 43% chance of going through. And I think, Novak hasn't been playing as much, but when he does play well. And so that's going to factor into the model of like, okay, I'm not losing very many matches when I play.
So fill in the rest of the blanks for us from our quarterfinals, our last 8 club. What's the win predictor saying?
So let's say Carlos's road to the final. If he can pass Novak, then he's going to play Zverev in the semi. That's a much closer match. It's a 53% chance Carlos beating Zverev. Now, we had a discussion, a month ago about Zverev, Carlos. I think server versus returner. Let's see what happens there. But it's very tight. And then if he was to face Sinner in the final, we're giving Sinner the edge by quite a margin there, 75 to 25.
Wow.
So it just speaks to how well Sinner has played the back end of the year, and his numbers are just looking off the charts. Like we're talking what Novak did at his peak. That's where he's at.
So let's complete that half of the draw, the Sinner half of the draw then. Tell us about who he'd have to come through in the semi-final to make it to the big dance.
Yeah, so we actually have Fritz favored over Medvedev. So Fritz would move forward in the quarterfinal and take on Sinner. And right now we have Sinner favored at 81%. So we're looking at, Sinner having probably a challenging match against Fritz. We saw that in the U.S. Open, but going into the final, we see that road's a little bit smoother than maybe on the other side for Novak coming through.
Can I ask a question just about someone that I love watching on the tour? How far do you see Rublev going?
Rublev, I think, in the statistical model, ranks a little bit lower than his ranking. And so it's just the way the model works in terms of when you're expected to win and you may not win those matches, you're going to pay a really high penalty. So you have to be very consistency. You have to be very consistent. And so he's not favored as much as maybe his seed shows in the statistical model.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And that's Medvedev's quarter of the draw. Yep. And Medvedev just had a new baby. Congratulations to their second child. So I think his head has been elsewhere. So you give a little opportunity to Rublev. And the big thing is that Rublev lost that 8 seed. Now Demon is seeded within the top 8. So he could have Francis Tiafoe in the 3rd round. Yeah. But I feel like Rublev, what is it, John? I think it's been like 8 or 9 major quarterfinals. He still hasn't been able to break through into that next level. Rublev's got all the tools there. It's just been that mental ceiling, which is so impossible for us mere mortals to understand just how tough that is to have that breakthrough.
I'd love to see him go further. Yeah. I just think he's such a beautiful player and a nice guy. And I couldn't do what he's doing. So I understand that there's some demons we face when being passionate.
Could see Alexei Poprin play Rublev in the 4th round too.
That would be a great match.
Yeah. Another high electric one probably on Rod Laver Arena. Okay, and then Taylor Fritz, I just wanted to ask, you touched on him before, but this feels like the year that he could go to the final.
It really does. I know Mike Russell, his coach, pretty well, and they're just like, they are so cerebral in the way that they approach the game. Taylor doesn't give off that vibe. He's very kind of the all-American model, this tall, big hitting, big serving tennis player, but they have worked so hard on fine-tuning every part of Taylor's game. We saw it in the United Cup final against Hubert Hurkacz. He was just that little bit better. We saw him press Tomas Machac also at the United Cup and really wear him down Fritz believes, and I was courtside for that U.S. Open final. He thought that he really had a shot against Sinner.
Yeah.
In the end, he sort of got waxed that day. But I think Johnny's going to take all of those experiences. He is far and away the top American guy. We talk about Francis, Tommy, you look at Ben Shelton, Riley Opelka now coming back, but Taylor Fritz wants to be that American that breaks the streak. We're now 22 years since Andy Roddick, last American man to win a Grand Slam singles title.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. Hopefully he can get the job done for the USA, just like they did at the United Cup. We'll have more analysis on that and the Brisbane International after the break with Andrea and Craig. Final predictions for the men's championship. We're going to start with Nick McCarvel.
Oh, wow. Starting with me. You know what? I believe Carlos when I hear him say that he's focused in on making a deep run here. Carlos Alcaraz is your champion.
Okay, Alcaraz. Levi.
I'm going to back Sinner, and I'm going to say that I think Sinner is the favorite this year.
Brie?
I want to say Alcaraz, but I think it will be Sinner.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go out of the box then. I'm on Fritz. I'm on the Fritz train.
Ooh.
Nice, John.
I'm just liking him. I don't know.
Okay.
No, I
I
like
think
that.
it would be great. Like I love Sinner and I love Sabalenka, but I really like it when it kind of shakes up and you've always got someone new to kind of love.
Yeah, it'd be a huge
So
story.
Fritz is cool.
Well, that brings to an end our analysis of the official draw for 2025. Get some rest, you guys, because we've got a big couple of weeks coming up, hey?
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
After the break, back on Grand Slam over with Andrea Petkovic, Craig Tiley, and Brie. You'll stick around too.
I was there, yeah.
Stay tuned. Well, welcome back to the tennis for this next segment. We're here on Grand Slam Oval at the AO Live stage. Andrea Petkovic, former player, now commentator. Welcome to you, Andrea. How's the start of your Australian summer been?
It's been really nice. I've never done a United Cup. This was my first year. It was a brilliant competition, so much great tennis. And on Monday when I arrived in Melbourne, I thought I was going to do all these things, take a run in the Royal Botanics Garden, take myself out to dinner, and then I ordered room service. I didn't leave my room for 18 hours. So It's been busy, the United Cup, but so fun. And I've seen some great tennis. I'm very excited for the Australian Open.
USA in the end, too good for Poland in the final. In that result, Taylor Fritz and Coco Gauff just sublime throughout.
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, I will say women's tennis has caught my eye at the United Cup. There was one blockbuster singles match after the other. It was really mesmerizing to watch, especially knowing that these players didn't have a long off season. We actually reframed it into pre-season because it was for some only 10 days long for the girls who played the Billie Jean King Cup, for example. But they played incredible tennis. I'm thinking of the Rybakina-Świątek match. I'm thinking of the Świątek-Katie Bolter match. And then Coco Gauff, who was just shining a bit brighter than everybody else. She was barely missing any balls. Her serve improved, the forehand improved, and in the end, that match against Iga Świątek was another high-class match. So I know I'm a bit biased, but I will say the women stole the show at the United Cup.
I would agree with that. I would definitely agree there. In the matches I watched, the women were by far the highlight, I felt. And it was a showcase of some of the best women's tennis I've actually seen in a while, because I think that event, like the Grand Slam, I think kind of brought the best out of the players.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say the men kind of saved their reputation with the last match. The Taylor Fritz QB Hurkacz match was outstanding. 7-6 in the third, 3 hours of shot making and trick shots. And Hurkacz, it was really nice to see he really found his form. He was struggling with his knee at the beginning of United Cup, but then was able to find his form, and that was incredible. And on a personal note, the blonde hair of Taylor Fritz really started to grow on me in the end. So I figure I've been too long in Australia. I want to go back to Germany.
Yeah, you've been here too long. Have you?
On both Coco and Taylor, have they both gone to another level in the last couple of months and are now genuine contenders for Grand Slam titles, do you think?
I think so. Coco Gauff, especially because I've watched her so closely, it was some of the more mind-boggling things I've seen in tennis, to change your grip for your serve before first and second serve in the middle of the season, right before 3 of the most important tournaments of the season, one of them being the WTA finals, where she won $4.9 million in the end. So that's a high-priced grip change, in my opinion, but she did it, and it paid off. And this is the type of courage in terms of development that I always look for. And so for me, it was Aryna Sabalenka was the favorite, and Coco slide behind her. her. I think they are, for me, on equal terms right now with having watched her play. And Taylor, honestly, he's one of maybe the best competitor on the tour. And watching him improve day in, day out, he's improved his movement, his fitness, his defensive game is a lot better than it used to be. So why not? He really has the chops to do it.
Lovely.
Not that America needs anything else going well for David Turnbull Sports, right?
And now 2 United Cups in the bag for Team USA. Craig, you would have seen a fair bit of tennis, especially around these parts the last four days or so. What's caught your eye in the tennis world?
Well, I think what's caught my eye is the diversity and the vibrancy on the site over these last few days, where it does feel like the first day of when we start the main draw, which is Sunday this year. But the whole initiative was to extend this to 3 weeks and to have a beginning that felt like the beginning of the main event, and it definitely feels like that. So that's great. And the fans that come out to this for an entry that's really accessible, you can come and see the best players practice. You can come and watch some great charity matches this night, and all the players are around, and they all in a pretty good mood until the draw tomorrow, when things will start to get a little tighter, as you know, as a former player, and then you have your final practice, and then you start to think about the opponent, and very quickly before you know it, you called up for your first match. So we're getting to that point, and I always particularly, as an ex-coach, I always particularly enjoy that side of the tennis, and watching the players and their teams get a bit more agitated on some things that don't really matter to the big scheme of things.
Yep, that's your challenge over the next 2.5 weeks, isn't it?
It is.
Keeping people happy. Well, Brie, what's caught your eye over the past week?
So I'm going to go to Canberra, where Joao Fonseca just took out the challenger there. He's one to watch. He recently won the ATP kind of finals Next Gen. Yes, thank you. And he beat an American called Quinn. And he's just someone to watch, and he's about to be playing at 350 today, so head over. But I think he's really, really exciting for our next generation coming up. So he's what caught my eye.
18 years of age, but a phenomenal game on him already, Andrea.
Incredible forehand, the way he can accelerate the ball. It's really, when you type in, it used to be Carlos Alcaraz was strictly subscribed on the high points of the trick shots and everything. I think Fonseca will start to give him some competition in these running forehands and some incredible shots. And I spoke to an employee of yours, Andrea, who's Brazilian and knows him very well, and I asked him, like, how is his mentality? How is his family? All these things matter in a professional career. And he said, perfect. There is nothing to complain about. Great family. He is Brazilian, so we'll take that away from him. But he said, great mentality, great work ethic, fantastic family. So really what stands in his way.
I would agree. I think he's a star of the future. I totally agree with that.
What's caught my eye has been the return to Rod Laver Arena at the same time, of Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray standing on the same side of the net for the first time. It feels like a bit of a throwback in some ways, but a really amazing piece of history to see Andy now, Craig, join Novak's team. And have you had any interactions with the two of them?
It's weird. It feels just a bit different, because you always see it on the opposite sides, where you see some great matches here on Rod Laver against both of them. But had a few chats with both of them already, and I think they're kind of enjoying this dynamic that they're going to go through a bit of process of discovery. And I'm looking forward to the moment where there's a really tight point on the match, the tight point and I can guarantee Andrea's going to be in the commentary booth watching very closely what Andy's response is going to be, because that's going to be one of the more entertainment things we're going to see at this round open, I think.
Has any one of you gotten the chance to see it live? I saw just clips. You haven't seen it live?
No, not live, just videos.
Me too.
Some of my team were down there filming the videos, but I only saw the
I went specifically to watch just that.
Oh my God, I like that.
What do you think Andy can bring to Novak's 10 Australian Open deep credentials?
Well, to me, I think he is maybe one of the best strategic minds we had in tennis, period. I'm talking all generations. When you hear him speak about tennis and the way he thought through his opponents, and I think on the level that Novak Djokovic is, that's all you really need. He's perfect technique-wise. He's perfect in his preparation and his off-court behavior. He doesn't need that. He's not a young player anymore. He's middle-aged in terms of tennis, and so it's just the truth of it. And he needs somebody to be by his side and help him through these preparations in strategic terms of his opponents. And I think Andy is the best. The only question I have, and maybe Craig, you can answer that. has he let go of himself as a tennis player enough already? Because we have egos.
You?
I've been 2 years retired. I think finally I'm still. So I will tell you one story. I had to play an exhibition in Stuttgart, which is 2 hours away from me, and halfway there in my car, I realized I'd forgotten my tennis rackets. So I felt like that was the moment I had truly let go of the tennis player.
Well, as you know, as a former top player, it's hard to get past that. And I think it only really starts to happen when you begin to forge your next career, which you're doing brilliantly. And then you can start to really focus and concentrate, put the same kind of effort and energy into that next career. And the same thing in coaching, if you step out of it. And I think Andy is very recent in stepping out of it, so he's going to figure out what he wants to forge a career for. So I think that I would very much doubt if Andy's on the side of the court just itching to get out there to do it himself.
Exactly.
But I think he's going to add great value to Novak and Novak's game. And I totally agree with you. He's such a great student of the game. He is, and you love talking to him about the game.
Well, while some players have finished their careers, others are at the peak of their powers. Some are just starting out, in their mid to late teenage years. And today, Brie has put together the top 5 young players to watch at the AO, men's and women's. So, Brie, should we start with the men or the women?
Or do we mix it up?
We can mix it up.
Yeah,
How about we mix it up?
Let's mix it up.
Okay.
Cool. I will start with Arthur Fils.
The Frenchman.
The Frenchman. He is 20 years old. He's 6'1", an all-court player. Won Hamburg recently.
He's very interesting. Great forehand. One of the heaviest forehand on tour right now. He arrived at the same time as I did at Melbourne Airport. Great airport style as well. So I think that just adds to his
Fantastic timing.
his resume, right? I feel like that's already 1 point in the bag in the locker room there.
And from all reports, Craig, a pretty bright personality as well.
He is, big smile on his face, so there's energy that exudes around him when he walks around, and I think he's figuring out to go on that journey of playing. He's got better strategically and tactically on the court. He's got better, so you can see big things. He'll cause some upsets on the road.
Okay, Brie, let's head to the WTA Tour. Who's the first player you've picked?
Cool. I went with Diana Schneider.
Nice. I'm glad you were
Fantastic.
Nice pick.
20-year-old, 5'6". She's a lefty, which we always love. Won Hong Kong, defeating Katie Boulter. Budapest, Bad Homburg, and Thailand, all in 2024.
Incredible.
So quite the resume from this past year gone.
Incredible. 4 tournaments in 1 year, and she's only 20 years old, and it's so fun to watch her. She has so much energy, and the way she bounces around the court, it kind of gives me anxiety because it just makes me feel lethargic compared to her. Because I see what actual energy is like, and but it's really fun to watch her.
Look out for the bandana of Diana Schneider, number 13 in the world. Who's your number 2 pick for the men?
Thomas Makach.
Thomas Markach. You would have seen a fair bit of him in Sydney, right?
I did. He had a famous emotional meltdown there.
But before that, playing
That's all I saw, actually.
Moment, yeah.
but had played some incredible tennis in the week leading
He
up.
was playing well. Every event I've been on the broadcasting team for 2 years now, and every event has one breakout star, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the champion of the tournament in the end. There is always somebody that catches your eye where you go, oh, this guy has star power, or he has something that he brings that's different. And it was Thomas Mahach at the United Cup. You could just feel the energy changing when he started playing well. More and more audience members were flocking to his matches, and he really was the pole in the end. I think he was just exhausted, because whenever I had meltdowns, it was always because I was exhausted. And it was a new thing for him to play these high caliber matches back to back to back. And I think he will be in perfect shape at the Australian Open.
4 top 10 victories in 2024, including over Djokovic and Alcaraz.
Yeah, he is a big player beater, and so I think everyone will be looking at the draw, and I think if you have Thomas in the draw early, you'd be a little nervous.
Brie, who's next for the WTA?
Cool, we're going to Linda Noskova.
Yeah, the last year giant slayer here beat Iga Świątek in the 3rd round, I believe. So decent. And it's interesting, she's the only player, because we called a lot of Iga's matches, she's the only player who beat Iga after losing the first set.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think she won like 25 matches Iga Swiatek after she won the first set, and the only one she lost was to Linda Noskova.
Wow.
She was struggling. She's struggling lately a little bit, and by lately I mean 2 tournaments that have been played here. But I would definitely not count her out. Clearly loves playing here in Australia.
Keep an eye out for the 20-year-old from Czechia. Okay, who's third up for the men, Brie?
So we saw some big things, and I say big aces
Yeah.
from this guy in Brisbane with Giovanni Pericard. And he is just really got a lot of power and a lot of height. 6'11", is that right, Craig?
6'8", I think.
I feel 6'11", so you go with any of those. He's a tall guy.
You stand up in the office and he sits still.
I get on the chair to have a conversation with them.
He won Basel and Lyon in the past year, Andrea, and is the number 1 server, ranked server in the ATP. 132 aces last year.
Yeah, played really well in Brisbane. Beat Nick Kyrgios there. That must have been a fun baseline rally match. Did they have a baseline rally? Did any one of them hit a ground stroke in the
I think there were a few. That's what determined the winning or losing, I think.
He's up to 30 in the world now and seems like that's only the beginning.
Yeah, no, this is really scary because his average second serve speed is higher than many of the men's first serve speed. Wow. It's incredible, and it's just here in Australia, if it's hot like it is today and the ball bounces, you have to smash those serves. I don't even know how they are going to return. It would be fun to see him against Novak Djokovic with Andy Murray by his side, because both of them are the best returners the game has ever seen.
Yeah.
And for them to try and figure out one of the probably best servers in the last century would be very interesting tennis-wise.
Let's hope the draw is favourable to us. All right, moving through quite quickly now for our last few to the women.
Yep, Lulu's New Zealand.
And what a story at Wimbledon, reaching the quarterfinals as a qualifier. Puts New Zealand back on the map.
They did. And she's followed up as generally with her game. And I think that, she's also one of those players that you're going to have in the draw where you're not going to want to play early. But rolling out for a Grand Slam, anything can happen.
Also, the WTA newcomer of the year for 2024, the number 43 from New Zealand. Who's next for the men, Brie?
Matteo Naldi, who we sat down with recently.
Aussie.
Basically, right?
Adopted
Basically
Australian.
Aussie, yeah.
Oh, he has an Australian girlfriend.
He just has.
I've noticed 2 things, and I want to ask you about it, as you are, not you, Craig, but you are Australians. Australians love nothing more but people catching a tennis ball in the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Got the most cheers, and couples. Australians love couples.
We love.
Yes, I love that.
I don't know we love, but I guess I do now. But actually, Matteo's been here. He's actually done a great job with his preparation. Even though he was a bit injured coming in, is that he's been here for a while. And I've always said, if a player comes into Australia and they give themselves a minimum of 2 weeks of proper acclimatization, you're going to be in the best position to do well. And that's why the Aussies are actually cause upsets a lot at the beginning, because they've been here for a month and they're acclimatizing and training hard. And Matteo's one of those. And he's good enough. Of course, if you recall, a couple of years ago, he beat us in Davis Cup. And he was put in the team by the Italian Davis Cup captain, and it was finals, and he played really well. And since then, he's taken over Australia's his second home.
Yep.
Maybe his first.
And I'm so glad Italy finally has a good player.
Well, he's one
There's a few.
I think he's 1 of 10 in the men's draw alone. He's number 5, so they're doing quite well. Who's next for the women?
Clara Thorsen from Denmark.
She's very dangerous. So she actually, and this is what I love about these players, she was practicing in Denmark in the off season and figured out I'm only hitting with boys. So she booked a plane ticket to Munich and practiced she tried to figure out where are a lot of girls and women that I can play with, and figured out, there are a few in Munich. So she booked her hotel, booked her plane ticket, came to Munich, spent 10 days there, and hit and played matches every single day. And that's the kind of commitment I look forward to. Won Auckland, so she's in a great position. She's already played well at the Australian Open, so definitely somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, 4th round at Roland Garros, looking to go one better here, at least in Melbourne. Our 5th top 5 male to watch coming through, Brie.
So we've got another lefty in Jerry Shang from China.
First Chinese man to win ATP title, I think, right?
5'11", left-hander. What does a player like Jerry Shang do for China?
Well, I actually saw him this morning for the first time, and we had a really nice chat. beautiful personality. He's got a big smile on his face. Loves to play tennis. Loves to compete. Fun to watch. And I think he's got a big future because he's got this energy about him. He does love the game. And I think if you don't have passion in what you're doing, and he's one of those that exudes it. So I think that he'll be dangerous. So he has proved that already. And he's done well, actually, in a lot of the Asian matches that he's played. But I think that you're going to see him. He likes playing. He did say to me he feels so much at home when he comes to Australian Open. So those kinds of situations really help an athlete. So I think he's going to be tough to beat.
Do you call him Jerry or Sun Sheng?
Jerry.
Jerry, okay. Look out for Jerry Shang, everyone. And our final woman.
We're going to go to Australia now with Maya Join. Saw big things from her at US Open, and she's just going up and up. She's 18, so a big bright star for us.
And now a college player, Andrea.
Yeah.
How will that set her up for life in the professional tour?
I think it really has. I think it used to be a path on the ATP tour to go to college first and then make your way into the ATP tour and up the rankings. I think, especially with how athletic women's tennis has gotten, I think it's been a very commendable way and path for women player as well. I mean, 18 years old, she's still a girl, a teenage girl, especially because now if you look at the top 5 of the world, Arina Sabalenka, Zheng Qinwen, Jasmine Paulina, Iga Swiatek, Coco Gauff, they are all real athletes, and you need that type of weight power behind yourself to make it big. So taking those years in the college where it's really rough going, you have to work very hard. If you can sustain that, you can definitely sustain a great career on the WTA Tour. So I think this path is great for her.
And she defeated Magda Linette today in Hobart, so she's into the quarterfinals there. Check out Maya Joint as the Aussie wildcard for the Australian Open main draw. We're out of time, guys, but thank you so much for joining us. Andrea, your expertise has been sublime.
Oh, thank you so much. I prepared for you.
Is there any award for one of those making a major breakthrough? And other than the fact that Brie would just feel really good about it process.
We could name it in your honour, the Craig Tiley.
No.
What are we offering?
Well, Brie,
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
have a great
Good to
week
be
in
here.
tennis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.